Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it's growing back a little bit. It's not as drastic as it was. Kṛṣṇa. It's a little unusual hairstyle for a woman. It's in the West. It's a little unusual. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's accept everything favorable for Krishna consciousness, reject everything unfavorable. For me, right now, this is favorable. I'm not involved in big social whatever. Not all involved with families, family members. I have a few friends, really good friends, who they, they accept me as I am. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And I have a few friends, cousins, they accept me as I am. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Most of my peer group, they're, because I'm in my 70s, most of my peer group they either have like rheumatoid arthritis, or they're in a wheelchair, or something, starting to get a little dementia, the effects of aging of the body. So it's time. It's time to just focus and concentrate on hearing and chanting, remembering Kṛṣṇa, remembering God, Kṛṣṇa, and preparing for the inevitable, which, as you get older, your body gets older, the window of when it's going to happen gets shorter and shorter. Hare Krishna. So I'm really comfortable with Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And of course this really, is the icing on the cake. Tilak. It's Radha Kund Tilak. I'm not trying to be a Sahajiya. I probably am, but I'm not trying to be one. But a devotee gave me this as a gift, so I use it. Usually the more aligned with the institution and the organized effort to spread Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada's ISKCON, they wear the Gopi Chandan. It's clay from the banks of the Yamuna. It's kind of a tan color. This is from Radha Kund, and a devotee friend gave it to me as a gift, so I'm using it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yeah, Hare Krishna, yeah. I'm coming out. No more rag on the head. No more hiding. I'm not going to hide anymore. Forget it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hey, Jocelyn. Hare Krishna. Lance, Jocelyn. Hail, hail. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I was thinking how jealous Krishna is. How in the Christian culture, Judeo-Christian said that God is a jealous God. He is. He's jealous. He doesn't want his devotee to take their attention away from him. He wants all the attention. He's very jealous and demanding. And if situations come up where the devotee has to deal with, and the attention isn't fully focused on him, he's waiting. He says, all right, you did what you had to do, now get back to the real thing. Get back to me. All right, you did that, fine. Okay, it's done. Now, come on. Connect with me. And, phew, we have the holy name. He's in his holy name. And, like, I had to deal with, like, workmen yesterday. They were working on the house. And it was a little distracting from just being here where it's nice and quiet. And I can just go deep into the mantra, Kṛṣṇa, and all these different energies of the Lord, his pastimes. They're all accessible. That's why by hearing his pastimes, then we have access to them. We don't have to they go in. It's like we have access to them. If we hear, then we start to get access to what goes on in the spiritual atmosphere. And then if we're sitting nice and quietly and really concentrating on the mantra, we're tuning in. And all of what we've heard in connection with Kṛṣṇa, it's all there. We can relish Kṛṣṇa consciousness. But sometimes in life we're very busy. Got to do this, got to do that. And we can't just be sitting there doing that all day. Although, boy, would I like to. But there's still a lot of things to have to deal with. Hare Kṛṣṇa, and then other devotees, associate with other devotees. That also can be a bit of a distraction. Because the tendency is to deviate from really connected with Kṛṣṇa, with Prabhupada, and start to talk about what happened when I was in the 4th grade, and how I'm having trouble with my checking account, and I'm having trouble with this devotee at the time. All this other stuff starts in, It's like, Hare Kṛṣṇa. I was sitting with another devotee on Saturday. We were hoping more would join us, but it ended up just being 2 of us sitting on a cloth in the park, and we were chanting. And then we started to read, too. We were reading. And a devotee we haven't seen in a long time. See, there's a lot of devotees in this area, and they just go to the park with their children and stuff, So this devotee was walking by, and they saw us, and we hadn't seen him in a while. So we were really focused on hearing what was in the book, and we were discussing and experiencing different angles of vision on what Prabhupada was saying in the book and what Kṛṣṇa was there. But this devotee just came over and, just started talking, and just the whole atmosphere was shot. So it would have been desirable for us to be strong enough in our kata, Kṛṣṇa kata, that person, if they wanted to stay with us, would sit down, be quiet, and enter in. But they weren't going to do that. It was like an elephant in a garden. They just smashed everything. So there's all kinds of devotees, there's all kinds of situations, Hare Kṛṣṇa, and learning how to maneuver in the atmosphere. I mean, it's on the internet. You can see all different kinds of devotees posting all kinds of different stuff. So where is that association that just really has that relationship with Kṛṣṇa, where they feel how envious Kṛṣṇa is if they don't give him full attention, and how Kṛṣṇa pulls them back. Like, after having some association like that where the person just goes, and I was like, I was chanting, but where was Kṛṣṇa? I was still hearing all that vibration from that person. I couldn't find Kṛṣṇa. And then eventually, it took a while. So, okay, that's cleared out. It was a distant experience. It's not something that's in my present moment, and it's gone. And then it was clear again. I could hear, I could chant. I was in that space. So learning how to do that, deal with the situation. You can't be rude to people, or you can't be offensive to them or snap at them. They don't know what they're doing. Jesus, right? Forgive them, Father, so they know not what they're doing. It's actually violence to just talk all nonsense. You're doing violence to people, doing violence to yourself and to others. Unnecessary talking. That's one of the activities that spoils devotional service. Unnecessary. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So they felt it was necessary. I guess. So seeing how to behave and how to act with different types of devotees. It's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare. I think intuitively all the devotees know what a challenge it is. And when someone offends someone else or has an envious or an angry, whatever, demeanor toward a devotee unnecessarily, I think they realize a little bit later, that that's something they need to learn how not to do. What is it Prabhupada said? Prabhupada said, your love for me will be seen in how you cooperate together to spread this Kṛṣṇa consciousness. It's a good one. And when he was leaving his body, he apologized. He said, if I've done anything wrong, it is that I've accepted too many unqualified disciples. But what can I do? It was an emergency. What could I do? It was an emergency. Whoever Kṛṣṇa sent, I accepted him. At one point, initiation was like this. There were two questions. Who's God? And the aspiring candidate said, Kṛṣṇa. Who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Answer, Kṛṣṇa. Okay, your name is. It was like that early on. Who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Kṛṣṇa. Okay, here's some beads. Your name is. But in order to have an organized worldwide movement with valuable assets, there had to be more of a structure. There had to be the International Society for Kṛṣṇa Consciousness incorporated with a board of directors, with temple presidents, but there had to be management. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hey Mara, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Govinda. Yeah, so I'm going to prepare for some association this afternoon. Going shopping with someone. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Oh, Kṛṣṇa. Nice devotee who also very much understands how jealous Kṛṣṇa is. If we take our attention away from him, also feels that pressure. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So this is Summary study of the 10th canto of Kṛṣṇa book, Srimad Bhagavatam, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, empowered emissary from the Lord. And Madhu and I were discussing yesterday about what Prabhupada means, the title Prabhupada. So it means, well, basically two things, or the two things that are usually discussed, is Prabhu means master, and Pad means feet. So how we see that master and feet put together is Prabhupada is the spiritual master at who other spiritual masters surrender to his feet. That's one way to look at it. Because the disciples are also Prabhus, but he's the Prabhupada. He's the spiritual master of other spiritual masters. He's the Prabhupada. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Mahaprabhu. Well, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is Prabhupada. Other spiritual masters take shelter at his feet. And the other way to understand Prabhupada is that he's taken shelter of the feet of the Lord's lotus feet. He's Prabhu can refer to. How's that work, Madhu? You're the authority on all this. But he's taking shelter at the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna. Two ways two angles of vision on that. Kṛṣṇa. Prabhupada. Actually, Prabhupada wouldn't be Prabhupada if he wasn't taking shelter of the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. There would be no meaning to the other part of Prabhupada, the spiritual master at whose feet other spiritual masters take surrender. It wouldn't make any sense. So that's the primary one. He's taking shelter at the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa. And that's in his mantra too. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Kṛṣṇa Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. He's taken shelter at the lotus feet of Vishnu, and he's very dear to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. There it is. Vishnu Padaya. The feet of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Padaya. Kṛṣṇa Prasthaya is very dear to Lord Kṛṣṇa. There's a lot going on with Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. A friend gave me a little USB. They went through the effort to put 175 of Prabhupada's bhajans and kirtans on this USB, and it plays continually for hours and hours and hours. So I've been listening to it, and Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Kṛṣṇa Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. I want to make copies, and if somebody would like a copy, I could send it. A little USB. It's really powerful stuff. So this is Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chapter 57, 5 Queens, married by Kṛṣṇa. So Kṛṣṇa has 3 queens now. The first was Rukmini. He kidnapped her just before she was going to be married to Sishupal. Just see how envious Kṛṣṇa is. He didn't want her to get married to anybody else. He kidnapped her on her wedding day. And then Jambavati, she was the daughter of Jambavan, who was a great devotee, King Jambavan. And Jambavan gave his daughter in charity to Kṛṣṇa. And then Satyabhama was the daughter of Satrajit, King Satrajit, who gave his daughter to Kṛṣṇa. So now there's going to be 5 more. So there's 8 principal queens, and there's how many? 16,108. We'll see how he gets all of those later, but we're heading for who the 8 primary queens are. So he has 3 already, and here comes 5 more. There was a great rumor that the 5 Pandava brothers, along with their mother Kunti, had, under the plan of Dhritarashtra, died in a fire accident in a house of shellac in which they were living. But then the 5 brothers were detected at the marriage ceremony of Draupadi. So again, another rumor spread that the Pandavas and their mother were not dead. It was a rumor, but actually it was so. They returned to their capital city, Hastinapur, and people saw them face to face. When this news was carried to Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, Kṛṣṇa wanted to see them personally, and therefore Kṛṣṇa decided to go to Hastinapur. Yeah, there was a plot to kill them. Their cousin wanted to get the royal throne. The Pandavas were entitled to it, kind of by default, because their cousin's father, their uncle, was born blind, and because of his blindness, his sons couldn't inherit the throne. He was the elder, so it really made it frustrating for his sons, because if their father wasn't blind, they would have got the kingdom, but he was born blind. So they were really, if they could just get rid of the Pandavas, then they would get the throne, because there wasn't anybody else. So they made a very elaborate structure for them and invited them to please stay in it as their guests. And it was made out of flammable materials. And one night they went and set it ablaze. But they had the Pandavas had forewarning. They had been warned by Vidura. Vidura became aware of. Vidura was their well-wisher, and half brother to their father, Pandu. So they made an escape route, and when they saw the building was put on fire, they escaped. But everyone thought they'd been killed. But now they're emerging. No, they're not dead. Sorry, Duryodhana. Curses foiled again. He's always trying to kill them and he can't do it. This time, Kṛṣṇa visited Hastinapur in state as a royal prince, accompanied by his commander-in-chief, Yuyudan, and by many other soldiers. So he came in a very official way. He came as the leader of an army with his commander-in-chief, Yuyudan. He didn't come as, family member, No, he came and brought the whole army with him. He had not actually been invited to the city, yet he went to see the Pandavas out of his affection for his great devotees. He visited the Pandavas without warning, and all of them got up from their respective seats as soon as they saw him. Krishna is called Mukunda because as soon as one comes in constant touch with Krishna or sees him in full Krishna consciousness, one immediately becomes freed from all material anxieties. Not only that, but he immediately becomes blessed with all spiritual bliss. Some comments here. Lance says, Prabhupada had Jayapataka read the Gita 16 times. Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna. Okay, yeah, I can send a copy of I have your address somewhere, I can send it. Madhusudana. Prabhupada is given to a pure devotee who lays at the feet of Krishna without any materialistic motives. Prabhupada is given. Okay. The title, Prabhupada, is given to a pure devotee who lays at the feet of Krishna without any materialistic motives. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. The rest of us, we have to take shelter of that Prabhupada. It's like a daisy chain, a feet chain. What is it? Servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, 1,000,000 times removed. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. On receiving Krishna, the Pandavas became very enlivened, just as if awakened from unconsciousness or from loss of life. When a man is lying unconscious, his senses and the different parts of his body are not active, but when he regains his consciousness, the senses immediately become active. I'm going to read that again. On receiving Krishna, the Pandavas became very enlivened, just as if awakened from unconsciousness or from loss of life. They had the blahs. When a man is lying unconscious, his senses and the different parts of his body are not active. But when he regains his consciousness, the senses immediately become active. So Krishna is also known as Govinda, one who gives pleasure to the senses, the spiritual senses. Similarly, the Pandavas received Krishna as if they had just regained their consciousness. And so they became very much enlivened. Lord Krishna embraced every one of them. And by the touch of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Pandavas immediately became freed from all reactions of material contamination. And therefore they were smiling in spiritual bliss. Krishna. Krishna. By seeing the face of Lord Krishna, everyone was transcendentally satisfied. Lord Krishna, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was playing the part of an ordinary human being, and thus he immediately touched the feet of Yudhishthira and Bhima because they were his two older cousins. Arjuna embraced Kṛṣṇa as a friend of the same age, whereas the two younger brothers, namely Nakula and Sahadeva, touched the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa to show him respect. After an exchange of greetings, according to the social etiquette befitting the position of the Pandavas and Lord Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa was offered an exalted seat. When he was comfortably seated, the newly married Draupadi, young and very beautiful in her natural feminine gracefulness, came before Lord Kṛṣṇa to offer her respectful greetings. The Yadavas, who had accompanied Kṛṣṇa to Hastinapur, were also very respectfully received. Specifically, Satyaki, or Yuyudhan, as Krishna's commander-in-chief. So we say Yuyudhan, looks like it's the same name for same person. Satyaki, he's also called Yuyudhan, was also offered a nice seat. In this way, when everyone else was properly seated, the five brothers took their seats nearby Lord Kṛṣṇa. After meeting with the five brothers, Lord Kṛṣṇa personally went to visit Srimati Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas, who was also the paternal aunt of Kṛṣṇa, is the sister of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. In offering his respects to his aunt, Kṛṣṇa also touched her feet. Kunti's eyes became wet with tears, and in great love, she feelingly embraced Lord Kṛṣṇa. She then inquired from him about the well-being of her paternal family members, her brother Vasudeva, his wife, and other members of the family. Similarly, Kṛṣṇa also inquired from his aunt about the welfare of the Pandava families. Although Kunti Devi was related to Kṛṣṇa by family ties, she knew immediately after meeting him that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She remembered the past calamities of her life and how by the grace of Kṛṣṇa, the Pandavas and their mother had been saved. She knew perfectly well that no one without Kṛṣṇa's grace could have saved them from the fire designed by Dhritarashtra and his sons. In a choked-up voice, she began to narrate before Kṛṣṇa the past history of their life. Srimati Kunti said, "My dear Kṛṣṇa, I remember the day you sent my brother Akrura to gather information about us. This means that you always remember us automatically. When you sent Kṛṣṇa, I could understand there was no possibility of our being put into danger. All good fortune in our life began when you sent Kṛṣṇa to us. Since then, I have been convinced that we are not without protection. We may be put into various types of dangerous conditions by our family members, the Kurus, by our family members. Yo, family. But I am confident that you remember us and you always keep us safe and sound. Devotees who simply think of you are always immune from all kinds of material dangers, and what to speak of ourselves, who are personally remembered by you." It's interesting. Usually we see we have to always remember Kṛṣṇa, never forget Kṛṣṇa. That we have to make that effort to remember Kṛṣṇa. But here Kunti is saying how she's seeing how Kṛṣṇa is remembering her and her sons. It's not just a one-way thing. We have to, Krishna's remembering the devotee. And she sees how she took that Krishna was as a sign of their protection and their being remembered by Krishna when he sent a Kṛṣṇa to inquire about their welfare. And she could understand that Krishna was remembering them and that there was nothing to fear, even if it got a little kind of scary. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. We may be put into various types of dangerous conditions by our family members, the Kurus, but I am confident that you remember us and that you always keep us safe and sound. Devotees who simply think of you are always immune from all kinds of material dangers. What to speak of ourselves, who are personally remembered by you. Devotees who simply think of you are always immune from all kinds of material dangers. What to speak of ourselves, who are personally remembered by you. So Lord Chaitanya's prayer, I have no desire for material wealth, for followers, for sense gratification, personal relationships, intimate personal relationships. I have no desire for those things. I only want to remember, be engaged in your service, life after life. And then the other one, even if you treat me roughly by your embrace, I'm always your eternal servitor, even if it gets rocky. I'm always your eternal servitor. So Krishna's love is unconditional. He loves everyone, even the ones that don't like him. He's supplying everything. Like when he stole Rukmini, kidnapped her, and her would-be husband and his demon cohorts, the demonic rulers and kings who had come there to the wedding to celebrate for their buddy. And Krishna swooped in and kidnapped Rukmini, and they all fought with Krishna. And tried to... How could they fight with him? Krishna's supplying everything. If they were shooting arrows, Krishna was supplying those arrows. He's the source of everything. If they were riding horses, he was supplying the horses, ultimately. So he loves everyone, and whatever anyone wants, he's supplying it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So his love is unconditional. I think within the Christian culture also they know that unconditional love. The Lord's love for everyone is unconditional. Our challenge is to develop unconditional love for the Lord, to reciprocate with him unconditionally. So, Lord Chaitanya's prayer, even if you handle me roughly by your embrace, I'm always your servant. I'm always surrendered to you. That's unconditional. It's a prayer to reciprocate the unconditional love the Lord has for the devotees and for everyone, to reciprocate unconditional love for Kṛṣṇa. So here it's the Lord is devotees, they remember the Lord. The sentence is, devotees who simply think of you are always immune from all kinds of material dangers. What to speak of ourselves, who are personally remembered by you. Personally remembered by you. So this reciprocation is going on. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So my dear Kṛṣṇa, like sometimes devotees worry, how will I remember Kṛṣṇa at the time of death? Because at the time of death the mind races. It's trying to find a solution, to fix the problem, which is what the mind has always done materially. If it's too hot, well, turn the AC on or a fan or something. If it's too cold, put a sweater on, or if you're hungry, go eat something. The mind's always trying to solve all these problems. So at the time of death, the mind starts to race. We got to solve this problem, man. But there's no material solution. So sometimes some of the devotees that I talk with, because their bodies are starting to fail and they're worried, what's going to happen? How will I remember Kṛṣṇa at the time of death? I won't be able to chant the way. It's not just one way. It's Kṛṣṇa remembers the devotee. There's a hint of that in Ishopanishad, the mantra, now let my life air be merged with the totality of life air. Is preparing for leaving the body. And please, my Lord, remember all that I have done for you. He's not talking about fruitive. It's not like, I did this, I did that. But in terms of devotion, please remember what I've done for you. And in that way, you'll remember me. Even if I am challenged at the time of death and I can't properly think of you, you'll remember me. This is why there were tears in Kunti's eyes when she met Kṛṣṇa, when he came to visit her. She understood that he was remembering them. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So my dear Kṛṣṇa, there's no question of bad luck. We are always in an auspicious position because of your grace. But because you have bestowed a special favor on us, people should not mistakenly think that you are partial to some and inattentive to others. You make no such distinctions. No one is your favorite. No one is your enemy. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are equal to everyone, and everyone can take advantage of your special protection. As they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. The fact is that although you are equal to everyone, you are especially inclined to the devotees who always think of you. The devotees are related to you by ties of love. As such, they cannot forget you for even a moment. You are present in everyone's heart, but because the devotees always remember you, you also respond accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. Although the mother has affection for all the children, she takes special care of the one who is fully dependent. I know certainly, my dear Kṛṣṇa, that being seated in everyone's heart, you always create auspicious situations for your unalloyed devotees. So unalloyed, that's like pure devotees. An alloy is when you take a metal like iron or something and you mix nickel in with it, or copper or something, or aluminum, and you get an alloy. It becomes alloyed. Or mix something into gold to make it not so soft. It's an alloy. So this is unalloyed, or undivided, unalloyed. Then King Yudhishthira also praised Kṛṣṇa as the Supreme Personality and universal friend of everyone. But because Kṛṣṇa was taking special care of the Pandavas, King Yudhisthira said, "My dear Kṛṣṇa, we do not know what sort of pious activities we have executed in our past lives that have made you so kind and graceful to us. We know very well that the great mystics who are always engaged in meditation to capture you do not find it easy to obtain such grace, nor can they draw any personal attention from you. I cannot understand why you are so kind upon us. We are not yogis, but on the contrary, we are attached to material contaminations. We are householders dealing in politics, worldly affairs. I do not know why you are so kind upon us." Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare. Don't you just love the Hastinapur and the Pandava pastimes? Really sweet. Hey, so sweet, huh? Hare Kṛṣṇa. The Pandavas, Queen Kunti. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya.